As you know, Grow a Garden obviously does their weekly updates, always bringing in brand new pets, and values are always changing with new exploits, new bugs, and a bunch of other stuff. So in today's video, I'm giving you the most updated trading guide to high-end trading, and this is going to be an extremely accurate and what you can expect to trade your pets for and what they're actually worth, because I am constantly always trading, and this is probably the best trading guide on YouTube. You can disagree with what I say, but I am trading based on experience and what other YouTubers, other value sites say, and all that. So these are the trades that actually work in real Grow Garden trading. Now, make sure to like and subscribe, and now let's get into the video. So, this is a high-end trading. This is pro players who have raccoons, who have a bunch of good pets. So, we are not putting on any, squirrels or, dogs, golden labs, because those are not high-end trading. Unless they are in a specific category, which I will talk about later. So, this is not a beginner-friendly tutorial. This is for people who want to be extremely rich. So now, let's get into what our tier list looks like. So boom, this is our tier list. And as you can see, we only have a specific amount of pets down here, because these are the only pets people really, really want, and the only pets you should actually be trading for. These are the best pets in the game, must have pets. And the tier list is divided up into 5 tiers. S tier being the best, down to D tier being the worst. So let's just get right into it. First, let's figure out what's going to be in the S category. Obviously, we know it's going to be the Kitsune. Kitsune is the most valuable base value pet in the game. When I say base value, that means non-huge, non-mutated. Most valuable pet in the game, not being huge and not being mutated. So Kitsune is a very, very, very high up there, most valuable pet in the game. Now, Kitsune is currency for high-end trading. When I say currency, I mean when you want pets worth more than a Kitsune, such as Titanic pets, which we'll talk about later. You need Kitsunes to get there. Or you can use raccoons. I prefer raccoons, however, raccoons can be duped, so be careful. Raccoon is the second most valuable base value pet in the entire game, and it is very good, similar ability to the Kitsune. Now, I am not basing this off of abilities. This is a trading guide. This is how to trade. And what you want to do is you want to trade 2 raccoons up for a Kitsune. That is going to be a pretty fair trade for both people. However, if you are trading the Kitsune, try to get more. Now, you might need to add if you are the one trading the raccoons. But now, how do we obtain the raccoon? Well, there's a few pets that can help get us there. First off, we have the butterfly. You want to trade about 3 butterflies or 2 butterflies in good ads up to a raccoon. Now, if you trade 3 butterflies to a raccoon, that should work almost always. Boom, you have a raccoon. Now you want 2 raccoons in ads to confirm that trade for a red Kitsune. So yes, butterflies are extremely good, and you really want to get as many as possible. Now, a little above the butterfly is going to be the Phoenix Fox. Phoenix Fox, I am not a huge fan of as a pet. I just don't like it. Not a fan of its ability. And a lot of people feel that way. It is a pet that's been in the game for a while. So this is the first pet that I'm putting on this tier list that lacks demand. And it lacks a lot of demand. And if you don't understand what demand versus value is, a pet can have a specific value. Okay, let's say a koi. A koi has a good amount of value. And it has let's restart. A koi does not have a ton of value. It was super easy to get. So many people were able to farm up a whole team of them. But there's a ton of demand for it. And so many people were able to farm so many of them that they started to sell them because they thought they were going to be worthless like myself or traded them really cheap. So there are a lot less kois in existence than we would like because it was super easy to get for higher end players, but new players or intermediate casual players could only probably get a few of them. Because of this, the koi has a lot of demand, making its value skyrocket. So we'll talk about the value of koi later. But the Phoenix Fox doesn't have a lot in existence, so it's rare, very rare. However, there's just not a lot of demand because the ability is incredibly mid. On paper, the ability to switch mutations seems really good. However, with such a low percent chance of actually it working, brings down the demand a lot. So it's just sitting above a butterfly. Now, I'm going to get these pets out of the way right now because I know a lot of people aren't going to like what I have to say. First, French Fry Ferret is a D tier pet. It's way too easy to farm these. The eggs I could farm so many. It was a super pay to win event. Very, very easy to farm the French Fry Ferrets with a mid ability. So it's sitting in D tier. And now we have the Griffin. The Griffin is the newest divine pet in the game. It is trash, complete garbage. I am sorry to say it. No value what at all to the Griffin. It's going to probably be maybe not worth as less as a corrupt Kitsune. However, it's not going to be worth much. No, I'm saying this is high-end trading. Why am I putting the Griffin? Why am I putting the French Fry Ferret? And why am I putting some of these other pets that you'll see later that doesn't have a ton of demand and pretty easy to get? Well, it's because they are divines. French Fry Ferret in the real trading world. That is Discord trading, pro trading. The best of the best, those pets are worth nothing. Absolutely nothing. But public server trading, the general public of Grow a Garden, these pets have value. They are wanted. Now, you might not be able to get the best offers, and sometimes you can get really good offers. French Fry Ferret, people like that ability. Really good players understand that the ability is mid. However, there is a lot of demand in public server trading, and that's the only reason why they are on this list. Now, Griffin, I would not say has a ton of demand, really, in public servers. However, it is a new pet, and it's a divine pet, and I would recommend trying to farm up some of them, and you probably already have. So just so you know, I would be trading away 3-4 Griffins up for our next pet, Dragonfly. Dragonfly is a staple pet in the game. Has a really good amount of value. A 1% pet, however, kind of hard to get. And yeah, Dragonfly, super useful ability. And I've never seen anybody not want Dragonflies. People might say, oh, I don't want Griffins, I don't want French Fry Ferrets. But people want Dragonflies. Putting it into B tier. You farm up enough of these Dragonflies, you'll be able to trade up to a Spinosaurus. I would say you should want to trade about 2 Dragonflies for a Spinosaurus. Try to get the Spinosaurus person to add a little, because you sometimes can be a little over, depending on the size and weight, weight and age of the pets. So, yes, I would try to trade 2 Dragonflies up to a Spinosaurus. Now, what can Butterfly get? Because we kind of left the Butterfly there and the Phoenix Fox there. We talked about what the Kitsune and the Raccoon can get, but what about the Butterfly and Phoenix Fox? Well, 2 Dragonflies can get you a Spinosaurus. 2 Spinosauruses can get you a Butterfly. But 2 Butterflies cannot get you a Phoenix Fox. Well, it could, but you're way over. So that leads into the next pet, which is going to be the Queen Bee. You want to trade a Queen Bee and Butterfly up to a Phoenix Fox, and another pet I'll be talking about later, which is good trading currency as well. But yes, I would try to trade Queen Bee, Butterfly, and then the Chicken Zombie right here up for a Phoenix Fox. Now, Chicken Zombie has basically became obtainable again on last Saturday during the update. However, it did not lose enough value yet, but I am setting it a little behind the Queen Bee just for how it is. But they are still relatively in the same ballpark. Now, what has actually gone down in value pretty significantly is the T-Rex, because there has been exploits, which I talked about at the beginning. So I recommend staying away from T-Rexes, because you used to trade a T-Rex for a Dragonfly, T-Rex for a Mimic. However, you would need some type of ads. I would try to trade a Griffin and T-Rex for Dragonfly, because Griffins lack demand. However, they are the hot new pet. Or a French Fry Ferret and T-Rex. But if the T-Rex is high age, good mutation, pretty good weight, you might be able to get a low weight, no mutation, low age Dragonfly. Sitting very, very, very close to the Dragonfly is the Mimic. I would almost say these 2 pets you can exchange either way pretty evenly. However, if you are trying to trade up, I would not be trading your Dragonfly for a Mimic. However, if your end goal is to get a Mimic and you have Dragonflies and you're just trying to get a bunch of Mimics for grinding, trade away your Dragonflies for Mimics. Now, if you can get them to add a Blood Owl, which I'll talk about in a bit, great. But Mimics are going to start rising up in value, while Dragonflies are just going to stay relatively the same and eventually decrease a little more. Now, if you don't know, Mimics are from the Paradise Egg. Paradise Egg is no longer obtainable from the basic egg shop and only obtainable from the summer merchant, so the value is going to skyrocket very soon, and I just like the ability of Mimics more. So I would trade Dragonfly and Mimic. Either way, I would say they're very, very fair. If you are the one trading a Mimic, feel free to add a Blood Owl, which is sitting above a French Fry Ferret. Blood Owl, great pet for leveling up pets, and it is a divine pet. Not sure if you guys knew that, but it is a divine pet. Mimic is not divine, Butterfly is not divine, Chicken Zombie is not divine, but Blood Owl is. Super useful ability, and it's a great ad for most trades. I will always take Blood Owl as an ad. Now, what I will not take as an ad is going to be the Golden Goose pet. Golden Goose pet is a trash pet. I'm sorry to say. Incredibly bad ability. It's just utterly awful. So I am sitting the Golden Goose above the Blood Owl, just behind the Griffin. However, once I would say probably a few hours after this video, I know, just a few hours, the Griffin is going to be worth less than the Golden Goose, because Golden Goose is harder to get than the Griffin. I would trade, I don't even know what I would trade for a Golden Goose. Guess I would trade a Griffin for a Golden Goose. You know, I'm just going to put the Griffin behind the Golden Goose, just to clear up any confusion. Do not trade for Griffins. Do not trade for Golden Gooses. Stay away from that, unless it is an ad for a trade. But if you're just single-handedly trading for a Golden Goose, do not do it unless it is either shekels or absolutely trash pets. And now that brings me into a topic. Trash pets and shekels. Why do trash pets actually have value? And I'm going to tell you why. Trash pets can be used with the seal pet and koi pet, or really just the seal. When you sell trash pets from the night egg, primal egg, any egg in the game, using seals, you have a chance to get that trash pet's egg form of it back. Now, if you have a caterpillar, which is the worst pet from the bug egg where you can get the dragonfly, well, if you sell your caterpillar, you have a chance to get that bug egg back, which gives you a chance to get the dragonfly back. So trash pets actually do have a bit of value, especially for shekels. People love buying trash pets for shekels. Now, the only pets you should be selling for shekels are trash pets. I know I'm talking bad about griffins. I know I'm talking bad about golden gooses. If you have multiple griffins, multiple golden gooses, sure, maybe trade one or two for shekels. But you should really just try to trade them up for dragonflies, Spinosauruses, or mimics. And it's really hard to put a number on how many griffins or golden gooses it takes to actually trade up, because it really depends on your person. Personally, I would not accept a trade with griffins or golden gooses because it's just utterly trash pets. So bad. Do not trade for them, but try to get rid of them if you have them. Now that leads into a pet I feel like a lot of people have, which is going to be the green bean pet. Obtainable, well, the weekend where the griffin came into the game. I'm putting the green bean behind the mimic. It has a pretty decent ability, and I feel that there's a good amount of demand. It's the hot new brain rot pet themed around the entire, well, admin abuse. Now, there are other brain rot pets, which are cool and all, but this pet is a divine, and it has the most value out of all of them. So I would try to trade a couple of these green beans up for a Spino, maybe like 3 green beans. So a green bean is a little less than a mimic, I'd say. I would say if you can add something like an owl, you can probably get a mimic. Now, I'm saying probably is you need to find the right person looking for it. Same thing with the Phoenix Fox. Same thing with the Griffins, Golden Gooses, French Eye Ferrets. You have to find the right person. Trading is a waiting game. Trading is testing out your patience. The best traders in the game are very, very patient. because they always know that there's a better deal waiting around the corner. So don't take the first offer you find for your pets unless it is an overpay. Now, a pet that has sneakily went up in value is the bald eagle, with a really good ability, and it's wasn't even that hard to get, but it's above a golden goose and griffin. I would trade my bald eagle personally for a golden goose and a bunch of trash pets. That is just me, though. Lobster Thermidor now, pretty easy to get. Many people got it. I'm putting it, Lobster Thermidor, right behind the golden goose. For now, I think the lobster might be worth more than the golden goose very shortly. However, I would not trade for any of the pets down in this tier unless it is a bald eagle or blood owl with an actual useful ability. Or the next pet, the koi. The koi is a great pet sitting behind the blood owl. Super duper useful ability. Love the koi. If you can trade your griffin for 2 kois, I would do it. And we also have the seal just behind the koi, because kois were harder to get than the seals. Seals are still obtainable, very few in circulation, coming into circulation, because there's drastically less more being hatched per day. But we also have the koi, which is a limited time pet, which has good value. Now, the Disco Bee. Above the Phoenix Fox, it is one of the rarest pets in the game, of course, and it is a tricky value pet. Butterfly is the 1%. You don't want to trade 2 butterflies for a Disco Bee. But to get a raccoon, you might want to trade a butterfly and Disco Bee. I don't think you would be losing. You'd be paying a little more than you probably want, but I would trade a Disco Bee and butterfly for raccoon. It really just depends. Disco Bees have a good amount of demand. Now, I'm taking away what I see from other YouTubers, other valueless. I am always trading. And especially in public servers, I hardly ever see Disco Bees. Hardly ever see Disco Bees. When I see people trading on higher end areas of Grow Garden, people want a good amount for their Disco Bee. I feel like there is not many Disco Bees in circulations, unlike the raccoons, which were duped. Why would you dupe the Disco Bee when you can dupe the raccoon, which obviously has more value? So Disco Bee is a tricky, valuable pet. I would be trading a Spinosaurus, butterfly, and possibly even a Dragonfly for a raccoon. Disco Bee. So it has really good value. Now the last pet on this value list for today is going to be the Dilophosaurus, going behind the French Fry Ferret. Dilophosaurus, the only reason why it's on here is because it has a useful ability, and I just like it, and I still see people who want to get it. And there were actually one main pet I missed out on, the Brontosaurus. Brontosaurus, it's sneakily valuable, and it is pretty high in demand right now. I would put it above the French Fry Ferret, in between the French Fry Ferret and seal. Now, the last 3 pets, I wouldn't call them pets, more a title of pets, are your Titanic, your Huges, your common Huges, your Titanic great pets. Your normal Huge is behind a Dragonfly. Your normal Titanic, which is a little bigger than a Huge, is above a Dragonfly. Above a butterfly. Because it's just a little more heavy. But now your rare Huges, or your rare Titanics, like your Titanic butterfly, your Titanic Disco Bee, raccoon, those are S tier, or very high S tier. For this video, we're just going to say very high S tier. Now we have our meta Titanics. Those are our huge sea turtles, huge capybaras, huge mimics, huge French Fry Ferrets, all that good stuff. Those are what gets 10 to 30 raccoons. Those are the high value pets. Those are what the high end traders are looking for. So feel free to overpay. None of these pets that you see on this tier list you should ever overpay for, unless it is a small overpay for the kitsune. Other than that, do not overpay for any of these pets. Do not take downgrades for any of these pets once you're high up in here, because as soon as you start getting into your A and S tier pets, you don't really want to be downgrading too much into your B, C, and especially D tier pets, and you really want to upgrade your A and S tier pets for these high value huges. High value huges are the future of Grow Garden. They are the most valuable pets in the game, and they will always be the most valuable pets unless they get nerfed heavily, because their abilities are just so good. Now, that is my guide to pet values for high-end trading in Grow Garden. If you were able to follow all that, keep in mind everything I said, and didn't just skip to this point in the video, you are set for trading. You are set for making W trades. And just remember, never overpay, never take an underpay, and never downgrade your high-value pets. That is all I have for you guys for today's video. If this video was helpful to you, as always, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.